What's going on, beautiful people? It is the 96th edition of the MMA Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got a bunch to break down. This past Saturday was Glory 17, a bunch of awesome cards, a middleweight tournament, last man standing. Artem Levin was the champion. We also saw Rico Verhoeven and Bazooka Joe Valentini win championships. We're also going to be talking about Metamoris 4, Chael Sonnen taking on Andre Galvao, Josh Barnett versus Dean Lister, Hector Lombard out of his fight versus Dong Young Kim on August 23rd. Tyron Woodley is in. And this Saturday we have two UFC events. Tahuna versus Marcourt in Auckland, New Zealand, and Swanson versus Stevens in San Antonio. We're breaking it all down. Let's do it, people.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast!
Shout out to Lenny Hart for the drop. Shout out to Eddie Bravo, who a few weeks before our first episode, June 2012, I tweeted him, asked if we could use that song, Jiu-Jitsu, by the band he's in, Smoke Serpent. He said we could use it as our intro and outro, and recently with this release of the EA Sports UFC game, it's actually featured on there, so congrats to Eddie, probably making millions of dollars in royalties for getting this song on the video game. Absolutely dominated at Metamoris 3. We're going to be talking about Metamoris 4 a little later on in the show. We're going to be breaking down Glory 17. If you do want to call in, the phone number is 213-457-3380, or you can Skype us at the MMA Podcast. As always, you can tweet us at the MMA Podcast. Visit themmapodcast.com for little recent news updates. Our boy P-Money was live on Press Row at Glory. He did a little write-up. Check it out there. It is an honor as always to be streaming live. We are live right now on Ustream, and we also have a YouTube and iTunes feed. Definitely click the links at the top of the MMA Podcast. Enough talking about my own shit, though. We are joined tonight by two of my buddies, one of which is actually going to be flying here in 2 days. That is Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. Buddy, we're getting ready to go to Vegas. Are you ready for this shit?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I don't know if my mic wasn't working for a second there, but we are back working now. It is the MMA Podcast. It is Wednesday. It's actually now Thursday. It is June 26th. On June 28th, I will be flying to Denver, Colorado, where I will be planning the assassination of Jake, but I can't talk about that on the air right now. That is private business. Enough about that. Thank you for listening to this show. This might be the last time you listen to Jake speak alive. Commence.
Hell yeah, I'm setting booby traps all around the apartment for these fools. Yao and Ross are going to be flying into Denver in 2 days. Then we're making a road trip to Las Vegas for International Fight Week, where we will be meeting up with a couple buddies, Alan and Hunter. It's going to be a fun-ass week. We also have another person on the call. He is not going to Vegas because Vegas is too hot or some BS excuse. He better come to Vegas next time. He is broadcasting from the compound in Austin, Texas. He is the word on the street. What's going on, Ramses?
What's going on is that I am not flying out to the damn desert in the middle of July. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. It's ridiculous to me. It goes against everything I believe in. But I am bringing you the word on the street, people. I have been doing so for 8 years now, solid. Every day. Twitter, YouTube's, iTunes. Right now I'm on the MMA Podcast. Follow me on Twitter, The Aunt Jimmy Show. I'm shaking things up. I'm not doing this for me. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it for the kids. And that's the word on the street. Praise his name.
Praise his damn name. Shout out to all of our friends. Like I said, Alan, he is at Westland Eagle AH Yao at Yao_the_truth. Yao and Alan are actually going to be competing on Friday, July 4th. We're going to be streaming it on Ustream. It's going to be sort of a BJJ MMA hybrid sort of thing going on, but tune in. It's going to be an awesome fight. Hunter at Hiro Shinwoo. It is the rematch. Follow the good coach, Coach Jamie Huey, who's going to be helping us put it on July 4th that morning from Extreme Couture. If you will, we'll be in Las Vegas. Tweet us if you want to go. We'll let you know. I mean, we don't want to flood the gym with people. But, you know, if you are a friend of ours and you want to see it and you will be in Vegas, come and check it out because it's going to be a lot of fun. I will be cornering the truth, so I got to be a little bit biased, but it is going to be a fun-ass trip. We're going to be in Vegas 5-6 days, 5 of us splitting one hotel room for 6 nights. We're probably going to fight each other multiple times. It's going to be like the Royal fucking Rumble. But let's get to it. Who else? Oh, yeah.
Jake the fuck out.
MMA Mental, VJ Jeans, and of course our boy Sweet Pappy Jones, P Money Patrick Johnson, who I mentioned before, lives in Los Angeles and was at Glory 17 on Press Row reporting for the MMA Podcast, tweeting throughout. Killed. The tweeting was super funny, but breaking down fights every round very stylistically. Also had a pretty good write-up after all of that shit. Definitely check it out at the MMApodcast.com. P Money's breakdown of Glory 17, and that is where we're gonna start the MMA podcast. Glory 17. Maybe they said it a few times during the show, but maybe the biggest kickboxing event ever put on in the United States. K1 put on a lot of spectaculars, but I don't know, with Spike promoting the hell out of this. I saw a ton of ads. I really think a ton of people were watching. I don't know the numbers yet, but let's start with the prelims. We had a featherweight tournament where Shane Oblonsky and Gabriel Varga won their semifinal fights to move on to the finals. Gabriel Varga, the Canadian, looking pretty good. The featherweight strap, the only unclaimed belt in Glory, and I'm sure Varga wants to go after it soon. We also saw Andy Risty in a match against Kai Hollenbeck, which, I thought Risty would end the fight via KO, but I didn't think it would be 35 seconds in. It was spectacular. And we also had Big Baby Jarrell Miller taking on Mirko Krokop in a rematch. This one, Mirko ended up winning the unanimous decision. Ramses, I know you didn't watch Glory 17, so I'll spare you. But Ross, what did you think about the prelim card before we get to last man standing and the welterweight and heavyweight championships?
I don't want to touch upon the Crow Cop Big Baby fight because
your boy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna skip. I'm just gonna skip past that because that's not worth talking about. Dude, Risty. Man, I actually picked Kai Hollenbeck to win a upset, and Risty just said "fuck you" to me and obliterated Kai Hollenbeck. Yeah, that's I really don't have anything else to say.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun on Spike, and then Glory put on their first pay-per-view. Actually, I'm not sure if it was their first pay-per-view, but it was their first recent pay-per-view. A ton of fights. We had 9 fights. Let's start off with the welterweight and heavyweight championships before we break down the 7-fight-long last man standing tournament. First, Joseph Valtellini defeating Mark DeBont, taking the championship, bringing it back to Canada. Bazooka Joe dominated the first 3 rounds, probably lost the last 2, and well, that's why he took it. He scored a knockdown too. I believe the final decision was 48-46 across the board, as it should have been. But Ross, you said it best last week. Whoever wins this fight is sort of keeping the belt warm for Nikki Holtzkin. What did you think about the match?
I said to you right before the show, actually, I changed my pick, and I did pick Bazooka Joe. I thought he would knock him out. I don't know if he deserved the decision. It was close nonetheless. you said it best. I mean, Nicky Holtzkin is the best in the world, and it's his belt. That's it. I'm speeding up the glory.
It's only a matter of time.
Stuff, 'cause I just want to get to the MMA. To be honest.
Definitely. The welterweight championship was actually the only fight I didn't pick correct. I got Risty, I got Verhoeven, I got Levin winning it all, but I picked DeBont. I thought he'd be able to sort of strategize, but Bazooka Joe, we'll see when he will take on Nicky Holtzkin. That will assumably be his next fight. Moving on, Rico Verhoeven defeating Daniel Guita. It wasn't as exciting as their first fight, but it had the same result. Rico Verhoeven winning a unanimous decision. What did you think about the fight, Ross?
It did not live up to the first fight at all. A lot slower pace, and one of the biggest problems is when you put on, when you put on a heavyweight title fight in the top billing, or at least co-main event, I guess, in this case, on the same card where you have featherweights fighting in the middleweight tournament. I mean, back in the days of K1, really the thing that was showcased were the heavyweight fights, and all the smaller weight classes. Everything below heavyweight wasn't really showcased. I mean, they didn't get that grand scale. So now that people are seeing more eyeballs are on the lighter weights, and there's faster paced action, and it's better looking. I mean, because it's quicker and more exciting. The heavyweight fights, like, they look really slow compared to that. So it doesn't even compare. Rico Verhoeven's, like I said, he's the prince. He's the new, he's the heir to the throne, the semi-Schilt throne. He is the new king of kickboxing, for now at least. I mean, things could change in an instant. This is kickboxing, and anything can happen in kickboxing.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we had a wild 7-fight last man standing. Let's break it down. It was for the middleweight strap. In the quarterfinals, Artem Levin and Philippe Verlinden moved on to face one another, defeating Alex Pereira and Melvin Manhoef, both by decision. And Joe Schilling, who you and I picked 3 of the 4 fights right. We all picked Levin. We all picked Verlinden. We all picked Barrett, who had a very nice third-round knockout against Bogdan Stoica as he sort of went for a flying knee, just knocked him out cold. The only one we picked wrong was Joe Schilling defeating Simon Marcus. We both had Simon Marcus, who was defeated, I believe, with a 39-0 record. Had beaten Schilling twice in the past, but Schilling looked really good. 4th round KO. And it advanced to take on Wayne Barrett, where he fought 2 undefeated guys in a row in Marcus and Barrett, and Schilling ended up winning a split decision that probably could have gone either way. Schilling ended up beating Barrett to move on to the finals. Levin defeated Philippe Verlinden via a pretty one-sided unanimous 3-round decision, and then the finals went about as everyone expected them to, leaving the number 1 ranked middleweight in the world outpointing Joe Schilling and winning a unanimous decision. My thoughts, hats off to Wayne Barrett's corner first for bringing down that giant-ass knot on his head he had after the Stoica fight. I mean, it literally looked like he had a baseball. It was pretty nasty, but they brought it down pretty well. Like I said, the heart of Joe Schilling fighting in his backyard, that was pretty impressive. But I mean, Levin is the number 1 guy for a reason. He is the sports Floyd Mayweather. His defense is the best in the entire sport. He's not gonna have an undefeated record like Floyd, because like you just said a few minutes ago, Ross, kickboxing is so unpredictable. But man, Levin is technically just so sound. His combos, his defense, everything. Just I can't picture anyone middleweight or below beating him. I mean, if he took on a guy like Spong or Saki, maybe we're talking about something different. But aside from those two guys, who are both way, way bigger than he is, and he'll probably never fight, I don't see Levin losing to anybody.
I disagree there. First of all, I actually think Wayne Barrett did not lose in this tournament. I thought Wayne Barrett was robbed in his fight with Joe Schilling. He dropped Joe Schilling. He just, I mean, yeah, Joe Schilling is very technical and he's relentless and he's very tough and gritty and he makes things exciting, and I guess it in a way will steal away it will steal away the scorecards. But Wayne Barrett did not lose that fight. Wayne Barrett won that fight. I think we were robbed of a fantastic finals matchup stylistically between Levin and Barrett. I think Barrett stylistically was the toughest fight for Levin in this tournament, and I think Barrett's technical but unorthodox approach would have given Levin a lot of problems. I wish we would have seen that because I think Wayne Barrett would have won this tournament. And I really hope that we don't have to wait long to see that fight. I think first it makes sense. Obviously, we need to see a rubber match between Joe Schilling and Wayne Barrett, but I think Wayne Barrett deserves his rightful shot at the middleweight championship.
Yeah, and Barrett's... A lot of people thought Barrett won. Looking at Twitter, it was probably split 50-50 on who won that fight. But yeah, Barrett is young. He, I think was 4-0, so he's still really, really green in the sport. And with a little bit more time, he will probably be the guy who eventually will take Levin's spot. Levin. I never know how to fucking say it. But you have any more comments on Glory 17 before we move to the news?
Yeah, you just briefly said it, that he'll be the next guy, and people need to understand Wayne Barrett is like phenomenal. He's 4-1. 4-1. I mean, or 5-1. I'm sorry. He's 5-1. 5-1 with 4 knockouts, and he was signed to Glory in his second. I mean, the second fight was with Glory. That is incredible. That's the equivalent of like Cain Velasquez fighting twice outside the UFC and then getting signed, or the equivalent of someone like Weidman fighting 3 times outside the UFC, 4 times outside the UFC, and then getting signed. Someone who's like a phenom, Weidman, Jones, Velasquez. I'm equating it to MMA because most of the listeners of this podcast are people who listen who watch MMA. So, like that's Wayne Barrett. Wayne Barrett is a phenom, and although he, I guess, so-called lost a fight in this tournament, it's not going to slow him down. He's just going to continue. It's like John Jones getting disqualified against Matt Hamill. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a loss, but it's not a real loss. He's just going to move past it. That's exactly what's going to happen with Wayne Barrett, and Wayne Barrett's going to end up taking that belt sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah, you broke it down beautifully. I guess that does it for Glory 17. We got through it in under 20 minutes. We're flying through. We're making shit efficient here. So let's do it. Let's get to the news. First thing I want to talk about is Metamoris 4. We heard a lot of interesting things about Metamoris 4. They really do a good job at drawing people to watching the fights. Metamoris 1 had Hadra Gracie versus Buchecha, Galval versus Hiran, Kron versus Souza. The second one had Kron versus Aoki. The third one just now had Bravo versus Hoyler 2. And Metamoris 4, this next event, they have 2 very interesting bookings. The first one, a former UFC fighter who all 3 of us like a whole lot. He just retired, Chael Sonnen, taking on a top beat BJJ Master and Andre Galvao. The other one, Josh Barnett taking on Dean Lister. Halleck Gracie, who runs Metamoris, he actually was just on the MMA Hour and said that there would be a surprise match that no one knew about. The fighters themselves wouldn't know who was fighting who. So I don't know how that's gonna work out with a surprise fight. Seems a little bit like a gimmick, but I'll follow it as long as there's no unfair advantages there. But yeah, first I want to get your thoughts on Chael versus Andre Galvao at Metamoris 4. All of us are gonna have a little bit of a Chael bias, but even me looking at it, it's like Chael's an MMA fighter. Chael's a wrestler. Yeah, if he's able to take him down and not let Andre attack him from the bottom and just keep it there and score a takedown and just, ground him out basically, I could see maybe him winning. But Chael is from the practice of MMA, and Galvao is from the practice of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and this is a Jiu-Jitsu match. I really hope Chael hasn't asked for more than he can bargain for here.
Let me tell you something about Chael Sonnen. He's a 4-1 underdog in this match here. That's nothing new though. I'm actually, by the way, I'm handicapping the Metamoris fights, the matches. So see me if you would like to place your bets. Chael Sonnen is a 4-1 underdog. That's nothing new. He's always in a spot like this. He thrives on it. I believe that he is going to beat Galvao, however you say his name. I don't think it's even going to be close because I've got the actual word on the street. It's no secret if you're in the right circles that Chael Sonnen is actually a jiu-jitsu submission master. All right, he'll take this guy out probably within, I don't know, 3 minutes tops. 3 minutes, and it's going to shock the world. But except for me, of course, Chael Sonnen will prevail. This ain't going to even be close. You're all going to be surprised if you don't know a damn thing about Chael. But now you're going to know. And God bless him. He's back, people. And that's the word on the street. That is the bottom line.
Ross, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I like Chael a lot. This is a really tough one. I mean, Chael is 6'1", 6'2". Galvao is quite possibly the best in the world right now. Maybe not the best in the world, but top 5 in the world right now as far as best grapplers. The odds are stacked against Chael tremendously just because of that. Galvao is going to go in there no more than 200 pounds. He's probably going to go in there around 190. Chael will be about 230. So Chael will have a size advantage. Will that play a factor? Probably not tremendously. I mean, Chael's going to get top position. We all know that. But it's not like it means anything because Galvao's going to be able to work off his back. Chael's very susceptible to leg locks in that sense because he's a strong wrestler, so Galvao will attack the legs. Yeah, this is tough. I want to pick Chael. I can't pick Chael. There's just no way I can. Can he go 20 minutes and stop the submissions of Galvao? Yeah, that's possible. Will Chael submit Galvao? Absolutely not. The only way Chael would beat Galvao is in a fight. I mean, there would have to be strikes involved.
Or winning by points.
Yeah, I don't even see a points. I think if this were to go to points, Galvao would end up taking it. So yeah, I think the two ways this ends is either, as much as I love Chael, it's either a draw or it's going to be a Galvao submission. But Chael said it best. Chael is returning to what he does best, the lay and pray, as he said on the show tonight. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm picking Galvao or draw.
Picking Galvao. You disgust me, Ross. You disgust me. Chael Sonnen is a black belt in all this Brazilian bullshit, whatever the hell it is. It doesn't matter. He's a black belt. He submitted Helio not more than 3 months ago and training for this. It's all over. Word on the street.
God damn. Ross, quick thoughts on Barnett versus Lister before we move on.
Thoughts. Dean Lister, easy. I think Dean Lister submits Josh Barnett. I really don't have a further breakdown than that. Josh is a great grappler, great catch wrestler. Dean Lister is world class. I think it's a different fight than the last one. I think this is less competitive. I think Dean takes it. Personally, that's just a personal opinion. I'm gonna get hate for that, but yeah, Dean.
Well, god damn. We'll move on then. I actually wanted to just take a moment and wish everyone a Merry Half Christmas. It might be June 26th over on the East Coast, but damn it, here in Denver, Colorado, it's still June 25th, which means it is 6 months before or after, whichever way you want to look at it. It is halfway to Christmas. So from our little podcast family to yours, Merry Half Christmas. Oh, actually, somebody's calling into Skype. If you do want to call in, the number is 213-457-3380. I'm answering it now. Hello? Who is this?
Ho, ho, ho!
Holy
hello?
shit.
Hello?
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 Who is this?
Do you know who this is?
Oh my god, is this Santa Claus?
Santa Claus!
My god, Santa Claus. Oh my god, this is an honor.
You haven't ridden
I don't believe
lately. That's why I'm calling.
Oh man, Santa. Santa calling in on June 25th, half Christmas. I guess he's got the day off. We've had a lot of people call in. We've had Misha Tate, Tim Kennedy, John Anik, a ton of people, but Jesus Christ, Santa Claus. My god.
Have you been naughty or nice?
I swear I've been very nice, Santa. I've been very, very nice.
What would you like for Christmas this year?
You know what? Let's all of us go around and tell Santa Claus what fight we want to see the most made, whether it's later on this year, whether it's in 2015, 2016. Santa, would it be cool if we asked you what fight we want to see the most?
Yes.
All right, that was a really creepy yes, but I guess I'll let you go first, Ramses.
Have you been a good little boy?
Yes, I have, Santa. It's such an honor to be talking to you. I had my doubts. I thought it was all a work, but this is concrete proof. Yes, Santa. I just, tis the season. I was just wondering if I could get a ho 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 from you before I go on in my fight. You know, if you're feeling the season, if it's the time to give, if he is risen, can I get a ho ho ho?
Ho, ho, ho!
That's what I'm talking about, Santa. Up in this bitch. Santa, I'd just like to tell you what
how you've grown.
Yes, time flies, when you're just training. The fight, I wanted to ask Santa, I'm sorry, I'm so nervous.
What do you want for Christmas this year?
Right, the fight I want to see for Christmas. Santa, the fight that I want to see more than anything happen is Patrick Cummins versus John Jones. I think Pat Cummins proved himself in this last fight with his performance on Fight Pass. He proved that also the Cormier fight was just a fluke, perhaps even a work. So Santa, I want to see Pat Cummins versus John Jones for the title, because I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. You know what I'm saying?
Better get something special for the one you love.
You
Damn,
said it, Santa.
Jesus, Ross, Santa, Ross. I don't know if the two of you have met.
Have you been a good little boy?
I have been Santa, but it's kind of like an issue because I'm a Jew. So what happens to me?
Excuse me?
Well, excuse me. Fuck you. You're gonna give me shit, Santa? You're gonna give me...
You better not cry.
Fuck you, Santa. Fuck you. I am the Word on the Street podcast world champion.
It's true.
I am the best in the world. I beat...
A lump of coal.
Lump of coal, dude. Holy shit. He's throwing down the gauntlet.
This motherfucker. Jake, you're gonna have some motherfucker, some guy who calls himself Santa, call into the show and talk trash to the champion? Huh?
The Santa guy sounds suspicious to me.
I mean, the number is coming from a weird area code. I can't, this could be Santa. If this is Santa, I don't really want to cut him off. Yeah. See?
Santa's a bigot.
Ho, ho, ho.
Hey, Santa. Fuck you.
Excuse
My
me?
fight pick.
He said that, Santa.
Fuck this guy. My fight pick is a fight that I guess wouldn't see for a very long time. Probably not for the next 2-3 years, possibly. It is the super fight in MMA. John Jones versus Chris Weidman.
That's it. There you go, John Jones and Chris Weidman. Do you still have time to get my fight in, Santa Claus?
Yes.
Okay, good. Man, back 2012, I bring it up all the fucking time. New Year's Eve, 2011, we were talking about, or 2012, I forget which. We were talking about the fight we want to see most, and my answer has not changed. It is John Jones. I just burped there because I'm drinking a beer.
Excuse me?
You heard me, Santa Claus. I'm drinking a damn beer. And I want to see John Jones versus Daniel Cormier. And, man, it's sort of going to be a lose-lose, win-win sort of thing with Gus and Jones. I want Gus to win, but if Jones does beat Gus, I'm really looking forward to DC versus John Jones. Santa Claus, is there anything else you wanted to say? I mean, thank you so much for calling in.
No.
I got a question. How come Santa keeps repeating himself? How come Santa Claus can't answer questions, elaborate questions? For instance, hey Santa, how about you tell us who you want to see fight? What's your fight on your Christmas list, Santa?
No, you can't have a BB gun. You'll shoot your eye out.
That's the word on the street.
That's what you heard here first. On the word on the street. Santa Claus, thank you so much for calling in.
Goodbye. Santa's watching you.
Fuck
there
you,
he goes. Chris Kringle here on the MMA Podcast. Jesus Christ. And what will probably go down as the most hacky segment in the MMA Podcast history. We will move on. A lot of people, and listen to this amazing segue I'm about to pull on you motherfuckers. A lot of people, when Santa asks them what they want for Christmas, what do they say? They say they want $1 million, and that's exactly what Rickson Gracie said he wanted from the UFC to fight at UFC 1. Rickson wanted $1 million. We all know how history ended up going. It wasn't Rickson at UFC 1, but his brother Royce, who fought for significantly less. But looking back on the history books, was Rickson Gracie worth $1 million? Ross, I'll throw to you first.
Wait. Was that a serious question?
It was a dead-ass serious question. Rickson, one of the most legendary figures in the sport, in Vale Tudo, MMA, whatever you want to call it. Looking back, Royce ended up doing, he ended up killing everyone, so obviously they got a bang for their buck. But Rickson Gracie, was he worth $1 million?
In the year 2014, Anderson Silva's contract still is not a base purse of $1 million. No way in hell should have Rickson Gracie gotten $1 million purse in the year 1993. End of discussion.
1993. Ramses, thoughts?
You people need to go back to MMA 101, UFC 101 specifically, people. If you read the Bible of the UFC, which is John McCarthy's biography that he wrote himself, explaining how UFC 1 and 2 and, the whole organization came together, he was there. The Gracies were actually behind UFC 1, of course. They set it up, they rigged every damn match. The reason they brought in Royce was because not only was this crazy bastard Hickson demanding $1 million, but Royce, he's more of an unknown. He's like a skinny little guy at the time. Nobody saw it coming. He's not some renowned jiu-jitsu master either. He's a nobody. He's a no-name. It was perfect. It put everything over in the right way. It wouldn't have been any surprise to see Hickson out there whooping ass. Isn't he the guy claiming he has like a record of something like 400 and something nuts
me.
like that? This guy, man. Yeah, this is just, I don't even believe any of this is true, to tell you the truth. I don't know what to believe. It's all smoke and mirrors. You read Big John McCarthy's book, his biography, and that'll tell you what really went down. And that's the bottom line.
And that's the bottom line. We will get to a couple MMA segments, but it is most people's least favorite segment of the show, the 10 solid seconds of sports, where I break down all sports that aren't MMA in 10 seconds. And I do want to make a quick note, because it takes a little bit of time to explain, and I don't want to use the full 10 seconds here. But last week, just about an hour before we went live, Clayton Kershaw pitches a no-hitter. Today, just a few hours before we go live, what happens? Tim Lincecum throws the second no-hitter of his career. Am I implying that I myself am responsible for both no-hitters? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. If it wasn't for this podcast, neither of them would have happened. Let's do the 10 solid seconds of sports. LeBron opts out of his contract in Miami. The World Cup's going on. Luis Suarez bites a guy for the third time. Brazil and the Netherlands looking hot. Costa Rica moves on. Argentina moves on. U.S. Germany tomorrow morning, and I'm pumped.
Rice.
Moving on to the MMA news, Hector Lombard unfortunately out against this fight against Dong Young Kim. I hate seeing this guy get more and more roadblocks, because let's face it, guys, he's getting a little bit older, and I want him to fight for the welterweight belt as soon as possible, because I think he's the best fighter in the UFC at 170 today. But he's out of the fight against the stun gun, Dong Young Kim. I hope this is just shifty maneuvering to sort of end up with a Rory versus Lombard fight for the undisputed number one contendership. We'll probably see Hendricks and the winner of Lawler Brown later on this year. And if we can get a late 2014 Lombard versus Rory fight, that would be the best possible scenario for the UFC to take as far as the welterweight path. Woodley and Kim wouldn't be too far behind, but Woodley coming off a loss, and Kim really yet to having beat a top guy. He beat Eric Silva, but I don't really know how much stock we can put in Eric Silva now that he's lost to a ton of guys. Thoughts on Lombard's injury? Thoughts on Woodley versus Kim? I'll keep it serious with Ross first before we completely go off the rails with Ramses.
Hector Lombard getting injury. Wow, I'm really off my game tonight. Hector
it's
Lombard.
Like English is your second language. Hector Lombard
Yes,
getting injury
si se puedo,
is bad.
Hector Lombard es muy bueno. Ramses, how do you say injured? He's not feeling well. No es bueno. No bueno. So, Tyron Woodley, Stepo into Fido.
What?
¿Qué?
It's
my new character.
Spanish Stone Cold. ¿Qué?
I think it'd be fantastic if you did that. I think Lombard would have absolutely positively destroyed Dong Hyun Kim, so I think this is a slightly better fight. I actually do think Tyron Woodley rebounds, and I think he destroys Dong Hyun Kim instead.
I agree.
I think it's going to be relatively entertaining. I think it's a better matchup. At least there's a bigger chance there, I believe, for Dong Hyun Kim to pull off a victory because he's not going against someone with such a high grappling pedigree in the judo department. I mean, an Olympic judo pedigree in Hector Lombard with also just the power to kill you. But Tyron Woodley is like diet Hector Lombard in the sense that he's just as big and massive. He trains with Hector, which is a big heads up in this fight because he's basically been working with Hector and helping Hector prepare for Dong Hyun Kim, so he knows all about Dong Hyun Kim. Yeah, I think this is just perfect for Tyron to rebound quickly, get back into the title hunt, and maybe get a title fight sometime next year.
Get back on the saddle. I couldn't agree more with what you just said. So we'll pass it to Ramsey. So your thoughts on Lombard's, I'm not sure what the exact injury was, but was the injury a work to just line up the Rory versus Lombard fight? And your thoughts on Woodley versus Kim. Will that be a work?
Something like that. Basically, Hector Lombard, I have it on good authority that he's never been injured in his entire life. So this whole thing, of course, is just making they're wrapping shit up with a nice bow for later on. They're saving them for later. The Yum Kim versus Lombard fight. Listen, that wasn't gonna move any tickets. You know what I'm saying? Come on, give me a break. So yeah, they're saving Lombard, man. They want him on those pay-per-view cards, I got to tell you. God bless him. I wish him a speedy fake recovery. And Yum Kim, I don't care what happens to him. He was just a feeder. He was feeder fish for Lombard. This was gonna be a slaughter. So the next guy that they'll give Lombard a tune-up, but it'll be a big name that they just want to throw away. Who that'll be remains to be seen. But I'll watch it. I like his fights. He looked rough at first when he got into the UFC, but now I believe. That's the bottom line.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
Hell yeah, we will move on to the beatdown of the month, actually. Hit the music. Talking to myself.
Well, I guess I'll save the ship.
Oh shit! I was muted up. Pardon me. Ross fucking started. Jesus Christ! I apologize, people.
My
Muted. I
beatdown
was
of the
talking
month.
my ass off.
My beatdown of the
Sorry
month.
for interrupting you, Ross.
Again, my beatdown of the month. Shit's just running wild here on the MMA Podcast, folks. My beatdown of the month is a fight that you did not see, but you should see, and somehow I don't know how you can see it, but one day you will see it. You will see him fight in the UFC relatively soon, and by soon I mean within the next 3 years. He is none other than the future of mixed martial arts, the man, the myth, the legend, the man on a journey, John Wayne Bowman. Johnny Bowman, this past Saturday, defeating Sean Allen about 3 minutes into the first round in his pro MMA debut, 1-0, with a knockout, one shot to the body, and Mr. Allen decided, I want nothing else from Mr. Bowman. Bowman picking up the first win of his MMA career, first fight of his MMA career, first victory, and the first of a long, victorious championship career.
Let me say what I said before when I was muted up. We do the beatdown at the end of every month, and honestly, my beatdown is maybe the beatdown of the summer. Rory McDonald over Tyron Woodley. Didn't get the finish, but Rory just dominated him, pillar to post. Aside from the Dillashaw fight, this might be my beatdown of 2014. Rory just piecing up Woodley, getting one of the most one-sided 30-27s I've ever seen in my entire life. Just an absolute incredible fight by Rory Mac. Ramses, who's your beatdown?
My beatdown of the month is an oddity of a fight that happened. It was OSP, Oven St. Priax versus Ryan Jimmo. The Jimmo fight where he broke his arm somehow. It was kind of weird. It was nuts. The more you watch it, the deeper the story gets and the more confusing this fight becomes. To me, my opinion, after rewatching this fight several times, at least a dozen, is that this was a work gone wrong, people. These people were working the fight, and something happened. Jimmo breaking his arm in half was not in the game plan. It's weird. If you watch the fight again, weird part is you can hear Ryan Jimmo calling out his next move, calling out his spots like a pro wrestler. 3 minutes and 13 seconds. First round, 3 minutes and 13 seconds into the second. Listen, he calls out his spots. You can hear him clearly. At one point he says, "Let's roll straight left." They roll straight left, and then he starts screaming that his arm's broken. It's nuts. It was the oddity fight for me, and for that reason alone, it was a weird but definite beatdown of the month.
And there we go. All of our beatdowns for June 2014. Honestly, as far as an episode next week, I'm not sure if we'll be doing one from Vegas. We'll try to, but we can't guarantee anything because, well, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna be doing in Vegas. We could kill. We could all be fucked up on crack. We could all be wasted out of our minds. Who the fuck knows? But you know, all of us could be dead. That's probably the most likely scenario going down. It is. Speaking of beatdowns, an honorable mention, John Dodson over John Moraga. Another honorable mention, Demetrius Johnson over Ali Bagatinov. John Dodson says Mighty Mouse is ducking him. Simply put, Ross, is Mighty Mouse ducking John Dodson?
It sounds like it. I mean, he doesn't want to fight him next, even though he's clearly the number one contender. He's the guy who deserves the fight. He keeps saying that he doesn't want to fight him next, but he's going to end up fighting him next anyway. So in the end, he doesn't end up ducking him. I don't think he's ducking him per se. I just think he would much rather fight someone else next, which is completely understandable because Dodson is the toughest fight in front of him, and it's through like he has the other ones.
You're cutting in and out a little bit there, Ross. You still with us?
Can you hear me?
Much better.
Yeah, all right. Just to sum it up really quickly, because I guess I was cutting in and out there the whole time. Dodson, Dodson's the toughest fight out there for him. I don't think he's ducking him per se, but he would much rather fight someone else. I mean, wouldn't you? If you were being faced with fighting the guy who nearly already took the belt away from you the first time, now you got to go in there again, and he's much improved, and he hits harder than anyone else, and he's just as fast as you, and possibly faster. Of course you wouldn't want to fight him, but he's going to do it anyway, so it doesn't even matter. He's not ducking him. He would just much rather fight someone else because it's much tougher.
Word. Ramsey's thoughts on this squabble at flyweight?
Yeah, I just can't take it seriously. Dodson and Johnson pretending like they have a beef, trying to move some pay-per-views. I'm sorry, I can't get behind it. These guys are they need to stick to the Ninja Turtles and the video games on Xbox. Like, I can't take this shit seriously. I'm sorry. I don't even play this class on the EA UFC games.
You know, a lot of times I sort of feel like the UFC is just sort of generating their own stories to talk about, sort of like ESPN's a really good example. Like say the sport of football. Like literally, they'll have in an afternoon show one of their top NFL guys say, "Oh, well, I think so-and-so could be the greatest ever." And then literally in shows later on that day, analysts will talk about, this top guy said so and so could be the best ever. Like literally, they generate their own stories, and I feel like whether we're talking about the Carano signing, the Holmes signing, the Dodson thing, whether it was the Jones, Jones fight Gus, they sort of generate their own stories, which I'm not, gonna hate on them for, because it's smart. It's, a smart thing to do to generate clicks and generate interest, and this whole thing of, John might not fight Gus next, and we might see Gus versus Cormier. I don't think Gus versus Cormier was ever really a scenario that was gonna happen or was thought about, going down. I think it's just an example of the UFC putting out a story that is gonna generate hype in that fight, and they probably did their job. I'm sure the whole thing with Gus, will he fighty, won't he fight him? I don't know. It's smart of them, but I get a little bit weary of it after they're doing it over and over, and that's my rant on that. Let's move on. Let's move on and finish this show up with 2 UFC cards going down this Saturday. The first one is actually going to be, whichever way you look at it, either late Friday night or early Saturday morning. The prelims start at 2:30 a.m. Saturday if you're on the East Coast, 11:30 p.m. Friday if you're on the West Coast. And the prelims, let me click over to them. The prelims will start off with Ross's boy John Vellante taking on Sean O'Connell, a featherweight match, Dan Hooker versus Ian Entwistle, a welterweight fight between Neil Magny and Rodrigo Goiana de Lima, another welterweight fight between, I believe, a couple of tough guys, Chris Endich against Vic Grujic, a flyweight fight between Richie Vakulik taking on Roldan Sangcha-an, and Jake Matthews taking on Deshaun Johnson at lightweight. And for everyone wondering why the UFC is doing an event that's starting at 2:30 a.m. on Saturday in the East Coast, it's going down in Auckland. And unfortunately, the entire world doesn't revolve around us. And in order to put a show on in New Zealand, we're going to have some funky times. But Ramses, Ross, thoughts on the prelims, and will you be staying up to watch it? Ross, I know this card will probably end maybe like an hour or two before you have to leave to go to the airport to come fly to Denver. Your thoughts on all of this, and will you be watching?
Well, I will obviously be watching at 2:30 in the morning when John Vellante goes out there to fight Sean O'Connell, because it's the fight I've been most anticipated for this month. So, I will definitely be watching then. After that, I will immediately turn off Fight Pass and fall asleep for a few hours before heading to the airport. John Vellante, fantastic. Can't wait to see him pick up a victory. He's had a bit of a rough start in the UFC. He's had some circumstances that have held him back a little bit, but he's had a good camp. He's good to go, and he's going to go out there and destroy Sean O'Connell within 2 rounds. Other than that, I have no other breakdowns for any other fight. I could not tell you a single fight that's going to be on the prelims other than that fight. It's the first time in a long time, if ever, that I can honestly say I do not care about anything of the prelims. And I hate to take the Ramsey stance because it's something that you should never do, but this is a lesson. This is a lesson that when you start putting on cards every single weekend and you start doing double shows, especially when the first of your double show takes place at 2:30 in the morning, from the first prelim starting at 2:30 in the morning Eastern time, it's way too much. It's way too much for any of us to handle. I'm not going to be watching the rest of these prelims. I'll watch John's fight because he's my boy, but after that, it's sleep.
Well, you may as well stay up because when you get to Denver, I'm going to break your neck right there in the damn airport.
Do it, bitch. Do it. Do it, Jake. Try it. I will end you.
Oh, yeah. Ramsey's thoughts on the star-studded prelims to UFC Fight Night, Tahuna vs. Marquardt. The prelims and main card, I forgot to say, will both be on UFC Fight Pass. Forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I'll be watching every single fight on this card. I got my Fight Pass ready. I'm not a fair weather fan here. I'm gonna watch every second of the action. But I'll be damned if I could tell you anybody that's actually fighting on it. So there's a problem there, but big deal. I'll be there. Tune in. Fight Pass is the greatest service of all time.
Hell yeah, and we may as well break down the main card in a big lump too. Robert Whittaker, the Tough Nations, or I don't know what it was, the Tough Smashes, he was in one of those. The Aussie Robert Whittaker taking on Mike Biggie Rhodes at welterweight. That's going to be a fun fight. Hatsu Hioki taking on Charles Oliveira. That is going to be a really fun fight at featherweight. See, I said the Aussie Robert Whittaker, and then I was gonna say the Japanese Hatsu Hioki, but that sounds sort of racist. I feel like there needs to be like I can't just call him a Jap, or that'd be super racist. What can I say? The Japan native? What's a good word like Aussie is other than Jap? Because I'm not gonna use that one. Even though I've used it twice.
I'm smart enough to avoid this fucking question.
Jap.
Damn. Move on, Ramses. A heavyweight fight between Soa the Hulk Palele taking on Jared Rosholt, and the main event, James Tahuna taking on Nate Marquardt. They're fighting really to stay alive in the UFC ranks. Thoughts on these 4 fights, Ross?
Yeah, we've got some gems here. I mean, not all of it's good, but there's some stuff that's worth watching. The main event, I mean, I guess we'll get to that, I guess now. Is that what we're doing? We're doing all 4? Yeah,
we're breaking down the whole main card, yep.
Yeah, because the main event isn't really a main event. I mean,
that's why I'm breaking it down like
yeah, it's just like these fights are all the main event together. I think people should look out for Biggie Rhodes. He stepped in on short notice, like 15 days, 14 days for his UFC debut. And George Sullivan's a fantastic fighter. He was the CFFC champion over here in the Northeast. So not a bad loss, especially on short notice. Both guys making their debuts. So I think Biggie Rhodes is going to come out with a vengeance, and I think he's going to look really good. He was a former RFA guy, and people need to keep their eyes open because he's going to surprise some people. Hioki and Charles Oliveira, that's the best fight on this card. That's really, really fun. That's a great grappling matchup that will probably be contested on the feet, but if it does get to the ground, there's going to be a lot of fun back and forth grappling. Oliveira is a fantastic black belt, and we saw a lot of that grappling in his last fight when he fought Andy Ogle. Hatsu Hioki obviously is known for his grappling. I mean, that's his game. He'll take you down and get top position and grind and submit you. I don't know how that one's going to go, to be honest. I think that one's really, really close. I'm going to lean Oliveira. I think Oliveira actually has looked really good in his last 2 fights despite getting beat by Frankie Edgar. I was actually kind of impressed that he didn't get finished and how he brought the fight to Frankie, especially in that 3rd round. So I think the stock's high for Oliveira. I think he's on an uprise instead of kind of falling down the ladder. So I'm going to go with the younger, hungrier, and more upside with Oliveira. So Palele and Jared Rosholt, this is pivotal for the heavyweight division because we need contenders. The heavyweight division is so freaking shallow. the winner of this fight's going to peak up, and they're going to be, I guess, the next guy to start contending for a shot at the heavyweight title. Soa's won so many in a row that you can't even count him anymore. He's on a huge winning streak. He's looked great since returning to the UFC, except for that one fight he had with the one fight he had with Krylov, where he just looked horrible because of the rib. Yeah, I like this fight a lot. Rochalt's wrestling, will that be a factor? Can Paleli get top position and just work away with his ground and pound and get another TKO? A lot of questions in this one. Yeah, I'm going to go with Paleli only because of the streak he's on, but I would not be surprised if Jared Rochalt knocked him out or stole a decision or something, used wrestling to steal the fight. And then the so-called main event, James DeHuna, Nate Marquardt. I've never been a big fan of James DeHuna. You know, he hits hard. He's a big guy, got a lot of muscle. He's going down to 185, his debut at 185. How is he going to look? That's a big question because he's a really muscular guy at 205. So, you know, you got to fuel that muscle, and to add on the cut to that, I don't know if he can go 5 rounds. This is the first time he's ever fought 5 rounds in the UFC. So it's a big question there. Nate Marquardt, on the other hand, has fought 5-round fights before. This is his return to middleweight, where he looked much better. 185 is where he should have been probably this whole time. He had one good fight at 170, and even there he had a little bit of a shaky outing against Tyron Woodley. I'm going to side with Nate Marquardt here. I think Nate can get it done. If Nate can use his wrestling, get James DeHuna down, wear James DeHuna out, make James work, and really just test his cardio, because his gas tank's not going to be able to hold up for 25 full minutes. And if he can just put the pressure on him, just push the pace, and take him down, just grapple him, he can either but he can either win a dominant decision or he can finish him in the later rounds.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Nate is one of my favorite guys. When I first got into MMA, Nate was my favorite middleweight. Actually, for a long time, the last bet I ever put down, I put $50 on Nate over Chael, and we all know how that ended up going. I hope he wins, but I think James is just gonna be a little too fast, a little too strong for him. I have Rochalt beating the Hulk via just better wrestling. I do agree that Charles Oliveira, as I like to call him, Charlos Oliveira, has looked excellent his last few fights. I have him beating a very game Hioki, who could very well steal it. I think he is an underdog, a slight underdog, but the guy is a very, very, very just technically savvy grappler. Whether it's in the clinch, I mean, whether it's on the mat, the guy always knows what he's doing. So I'm picking against him, but I wouldn't be shocked if he won it. And in Rhodes versus Whitaker, I do agree that Rhodes does have a lot of talent, but I'm taking the Aussie Whitaker. He did just get TKO'd by Wonderboy Stephen Thompson, who actually is currently helping Chris Weidman train for Lyoto. But before that, he had a really close loss to Court McGee. Before that, he was 2-0 in the UFC. Mike Rhodes, I don't know. I just don't see it going down Saturday. I don't see him beating Whitaker. Ramses, are you familiar with many of the guys on the main card? Will you be staying up past? It'll be like 6 a.m.
Oh my God! Look, you want to know what I think about the rest of this fight night in Tahuna, Marquardt, in Auckland, New Zealand? You want to know what I think? Go to UFC.com right now. Scroll a little bit down and look at this. Look at this damn card. All right, look at the lineup here. I don't even believe that this fight's going to actually happen. I don't even believe that this shit's going to happen, all right? I don't think these fights are going to... Look at this. Yesterday, half of these people on the website were just those black, blurred out faces.
Ramses,
Yeah.
These fights will happen. All you have to do is believe.
Oh, I thought you were going to play some inspirational music too and set it
I
over
should
the
have.
top.
Damn.
Holy shit, I was waiting for it. No, man, this is ridiculous. Look at these people. Half of these people don't even know they're fighting. Look at the pictures. Half of these the photos, instead of using the blacked out FBI thing, half of these photos were pulled from the DMV or created in the new EA UFC game. And so I have nothing to really say. I will be watching, of course, but Tahuna Marquardt, come on, what is this fight? Look at Marquardt. He looks like Bert Kreischer on the UFC.com website right now. And Tahuna, didn't he just get horribly, savagely knocked out? Didn't both of them? All right, isn't this a loser leaves town match? I'll watch because of that. If they throw that into the mix, make it some sort of elimination match, then I'm going to watch, but I'll actually get into it. But this is just going to be in the background while I'm playing the game, probably on the second monitor I have, because I'm rich.
Let me get a second take. Ramses, all you need to do is believe.
Believe.
All right, moving right on. Yeah, that fight over in Auckland. Like I said, it's all going to be on Fight Pass. The prelims start, if you're in the East Coast, at 2:30 a.m. The main card starts at 5 a.m. If you're not on the East Coast, then do the math, you lazy bitch. In about 12 hours or so, I want to say, after that ends, Saturday evening, we're going to have another UFC card from San Antonio, Texas. The prelims will start 7:30 p.m. on Fight Pass. If you are on the East Coast, there's only going to be one Fight Pass fight, and that's going to be Alexei Olnik versus Anthony Hamilton at heavyweight. I've never heard of either guy in my entire life. The rest of the prelims will be on Fox Sports 1 starting at 8 Eastern that night. We got Ray Borg taking on Shane Howell, Marcelo Guimeres taking on Andy Enns, Johnny Bedford against Cody Gibson, and Colton Smith against Carlos Diego Ferreira. And like I said, the first fight will be on Fight Pass. And then the Fox Sports 1 prelims will start at 8 p.m. Eastern for the other four. What sticks out for you with these 5 fights, Ross?
Well, the prelims on this card are much better than the other cards' prelims. The one fight on Fight Pass, that actually, I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, these heavyweight fights lately, even though most of the time we end up with low-level, crappy nothings, because, like I said, heavyweight roster is shallow as hell. I'm looking forward to it because I'm hoping we can see a little bit of new blood breakthrough. Maybe someone have an impressive performance. Anthony Hamilton was the MFC champion, I believe. He has some upside to him. He won his UFC.
You cut out on us again, Ross. Believe. I believe you won't cut out again.
Yeah, this is his UFC debut, and I'm looking forward to it. This is also Alexei Olenik's debut, and in his last fight, he beat Crow Cop. This is a guy who's been around. Yeah, not really, but this is the Crow Cop, I believe, has actually got another fight booked. He's supposed to fight Ishii, but. Yeah, Olenek, this is a guy who's been around forever. I mean, he's been fighting. He fought Chael Sonnen back in the day. He's fought Crow Cop. He's fought Jeff Munson. He's been around. He's fought everyone. Now he's finally in the UFC fighting as a heavyweight. He's not going to go far at all, but maybe he gets past Anthony Hamilton. I kind of hope Anthony Hamilton wins this fight because I think Hamilton at least has a little bit more upside. He's younger and he has a little bit more potential. Regardless, I don't think anything's going to come of this fight. Ray Borg versus Shane Howell. I don't know anything about Howell, whatever the fuck his name is, so I really can't comment, honestly. Yeah, Ray Borg, though, I was really impressed with his UFC debut against Dustin Ortiz. I thought he beat Dustin Ortiz. It was a very close fight. I think this is a guy that everyone needs to look out for because there's a lot of promise with Ray Borg. He's someone who's going to be a contender one day, and he's going to stick around in the UFC flyweight division for a very long time. Ray Borg's going to win this fight, and I don't even know anything about his opponent, and I'm still picking Ray Borg. What's next?
Andy Enns. Oh, I think you skipped the Enns fight. Enns a guy who shows how stacked tough 17 was, because if I believe correctly, he lost a fight getting into the house, but later made it into the UFC.
Yeah, Andy Enns is not that bad either. Is he UFC caliber? I don't know. That's a tough one. Who's he fighting?
The Guimarães guy, I think, Marcelo Guimarães.
Ah, yes. He is a world champion grappler. If he can swing this fight to the mat, it's his without a doubt, and I think that's what will happen. I don't think Andy Enns is that good, so yeah, I'm gonna go with Marcelo. And I guess the other fight on the card was Colton Smith and Carlos Diego Ferreira.
Correct.
Am I missing? Yeah, that fight is. I think that's a beatdown. I think Carlos Diego Ferreira is one of the guys I've stated for a while now to look out for. He's 9-0. He's been outside the UFC. Is one of the top lightweight prospects, finally making his UFC debut. Colton Smith has looked like absolute shit since coming off The Ultimate Fighter. He didn't even look good on The Ultimate Fighter. That was a horrible season with only a couple little gems in there as far as talent-wise, like Sam Alvey. But Colton Smith's been working with the boxing team, the U.S. boxing team and wrestling team. I don't think it does him any good. He claims he's had his first full camp. I don't think that does him any good either. I think Carlos Diego Ferreira destroys him. Submission, knockout, whatever the hell he wants to do.
Actually, we did miss one fight. Johnny Bedford, a big favorite over Cody Gibson.
A big favorite?
Johnny Bedford is minus 265 to Cody Gibson's plus 195.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, go to your local bookie right now and put your money on Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson is a fantastic talent who gave Aljamain Sterling 3 very tough rounds. Aljamain Sterling is going to be the UFC champion one day, and he gave him 3 really tough rounds. There's a very bright future ahead of Cody Gibson. Aljo's been going out there and training with him. Very talented kid. He's going to win this fight. I guarantee it.
Damn, you heard it here first. Personally, looking at the fights, Borg, the biggest favorite on the prelims for good reason. I think he'll get a finish. Enns, it was actually sort of funny. I believe, Uriah Hall, he finished everyone in the Tough House, but in the fight to get into the Tough House, actually went to a decision with Andy Enns, who, I mean, Jesus Christ, look back at Tough 17, look back at Team Sonnen. These are a group of guys who have and are proving themselves in the UFC ranks. You have Luke Barnett, who just got a great win against Sean Strickland. Hall, who is still, in my eyes, a big phenom. Cummings, who just got a big win. Tor Trong, who, is an awesome talent. Most people thought, was the best fighter during the draft. You have Jimmy Quinlan training up in Boston with the Lauzon camp. You have Kevin Casey, who just won an RFA belt and got brought back into the UFC. And, of course, the number 11th ranked welterweight in the world, Kelvin Gastelum, the Tough 17 champion. Just an incredibly talented group of guys. Moving through the prelims, other fights, Colton Smith, I think, loses to Carlos Ferreira. I think I don't know. I think it'll be close between Gibson and Bedford, but I'll just go ahead and take Bedford because he is a big favorite, and I'll do the same with Olnick over Anthony Hamilton. Any thoughts on the prelims, Ramses?
Yeah, man, I'm really pumped up
your
about this
boy
card.
Colton?
I'm loving it, man. I'm loving this card. It's in San Antonio, not an hour away from where I am here in Austin, Texas. In fact, spoiler, I might even make an appearance here. I don't know. I got cage side.
I think Alan might be going too.
I might make an appearance. I don't know. I'm trying to work it out, people. But I'm excited about this card is what I'm trying to tell you, people. It's a lot better than the other one that they're having earlier that day. You got TJ Dillashaw versus Diego Ferreira. You got Johnny Bedford Hendricks versus Mel Gibson. You got Vinny Gumalesh versus Andy Enns. You got Borg, man. Ray Borg versus Hal, dude. I'm a big Star Trek The Next Generation fan, so I got Borg, and that's badass that there's someone named that, and that he's a UFC fighter. And then, of course, you got Olnick versus the Eagle. And I can't wait, people. It's going to be a good one. I'm loving it.
Hell the fuck yeah. Let's move to the main card. We'll break the main event and co-main event down on their own. But let's start with the first 4 fights. Brother of welterweight Jake, Joe Ellenberger takes on James Moonsari. At middleweight, Clint Hester, another guy from Tough 17, going to be taking on Antonio Natao. Ricardo Lamas taking on Hakron Diaz at featherweight. And at middleweight, Cesar Ferreira, another one of those guys with that last name, an alumni of Tough Brazil 1, taking on Andrew Craig. Thoughts on these 4 fights, Ross?
Hold, I actually about to speak, and then my
cutting in and out.
Can you hear me now?
Better.
All right. This freaking mic is it's going in and out. It's not working too well these days. Joe Ellenberger and James Moonsari. Moonsari, or I can't pronounce this name. I actually watched his fight in RFA a couple of weeks ago against Jordan Rinaldi in one of the most brutal knockouts I've ever seen. He caught him with an uppercut that put him lights out. Very good striker. He trains at Black House. I think he has a lot of promise. Joe Ellenberger hasn't fought in 2 years since his last fight. Yeah, I can't really do it.
This is embarrassing.
This is not good. This is not good at all.
People.
Can you hear me?
Sorry for this. Isn't my son.
Yeah, it just sounds like you're speaking really close to the mic.
He's no son of mine.
Yeah, this is not working out too well. I'm gonna try and keep talking, and if you lose me, just drop me. I'm gonna go with Moonsari in this fight. I think Ellenberger's just been out for a little too long. He was a decent prospect, you know, a lot of upside, but yeah, it's just been a little too long. So I'm gonna go with Moonsari with the upset. I think he's gonna knock him out. Over how vicious that knockout was a couple of weeks ago against Jordan Rinaldi. Clint Hester and Braga Neto. You know, Clint surprised me. He's looked very good in his 3 UFC outings. This is a big step up, in my opinion. It's a big test in the sense that he's going to fight a really, really, really tough grappler. Braga Neto is a world champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. If Clint can keep it on the feet, he can outbox him and he could possibly knock him out. If he lets this fight get to the ground somehow, which obviously may not even be his choice, it's all over. I'm going to go with Braga Neto because I think he will get this to the ground. Although it has been a while since we've seen him in the octagon. It's going to be almost over 1 year since his last fight, actually, at this point. Ricardo Lamas and Hakron Diaz. This is a very close fight, and a lot of people are going to immediately go, "Oh, Lamas," because Lamas challenged for the title. He was one of the, but Hakron Diaz is a very, 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 very good fighter. If Ricardo Lamas can utilize his wrestling game properly, he will win this fight. He'll take all 3 rounds and win a decision, or he'll finish it with those brutal, brutal elbows that he has. If not, Hakron Diaz will give him a run for his money and will steal a split decision. Hakron Diaz went 21-1 before losing to Nick Lentz in a very, very, very close fight. So don't count out Hakron Diaz. He's someone who could very well contend in the future. And then Mutants versus Andrew Craig. Yeah, Mutant's incredibly overrated. He's like Vitor Belfort's, the poor man's version of Vitor Belfort. He tries to be mini Vitor. He's not quite Vitor. He's not even close to Vitor. Andrew Craig is quite the underachiever. I feel like he's bored when he fights. I don't know why. He has that look on his face that he's bored. I think this is a horrible fight. I think both are incredibly overrated. They just don't really impress me. That being said, I'm going to go with Craig in this one.
What in God's name were we even talking about?
The main card of the event we've been breaking down. Come on, buddy.
Just all of them, even the main event.
The main and co-main we're going to be breaking down on their own.
All right. Well, God bless everybody. In that case, I'm looking at it right now. Fun fights. Clinton Hester. I hope something crazy happens in that fight. I'm going to bet on him. How about that? I don't even know what the odds are. Just blind bet on Hester. I'm going with the dude that's fighting Lamas. God bless him. Diaz, whatever. And other than that, the other ones I'm just going to watch, have fun. Load one up, crack open some crab legs. Because that's what I'm going to be having. That's it.
I think I'll probably be cooking up something for myself, Ross, and it hasn't been decided on.
Oh yeah,
yet.
You got a host, man.
Yeah, I think Yao's gonna make something on Friday or on Sunday. We leave on Monday to drive over there. Yao is gonna cook Sunday, and I'll cook Saturday. I don't know. I might make some pasta, some spaghetti. Who the fuck knows? The co-main event, Kelvin Gastelum against Nico Musake. A very interesting matchup. We obviously know Kelvin very well. Pardon me. The tough 17 champion, Team Darkside. He still has not lost a fight in his career. I'm not gonna lie. When I first heard he was taking on Rick Story, I was like, oh no, Story is a very, very difficult guy to get past, and he beat him. Won the split decision, even though he had a hell of a cut. He actually was on the word on the street a month or two ago and talked about his miracle poo he had just literally like seconds before he needed to weigh in. Check out that word on the street with Kelvin Gastelum. Seconds, it was a miracle poo. We also have Nico, who is on a pretty good winning streak. Had won his last, I think he was undefeated in his last 6 before he came into the UFC. 2-0 against Alessio Sakara and Viscardi Andrade, who are nothing compared to Kelvin Gastelum. If you look at the line in Vegas, Kelvin Gastelum is a big favorite. He's minus 380. And honestly, I might put a shilling or two down because Kelvin is going to absolutely dominate this fight. I have Kelvin by finish. What about you guys?
With each fight, Kelvin's power grows. You can see his confidence building. Even not only in his fighting, in his interviews even that we've done with him. It's been like since the beginning of his career, since the very beginning of his tough debut till now, you can see it. This man is becoming more relaxed. He is, in my opinion, going to be champion one day. I have no doubt about that. I asked him a question once if he'd ever thought about, losing, and he's undefeated. He's never lost. And it was weird. It was like he'd never actually thought about it before, and it was like I was asking him nonsense, like I was talking crazy to him. I believe in Kelvin. He's one of my favorite fighters now, since a lot of them are just retiring left and right. God bless him. Kelvin's he's fresh though. He's just getting started, people. And remember, we had the word on the street from the beginning. He's winning hands down. Bet everything you have on it. And 'tis the season. God bless him.
'Tis the season. We just had Santa Claus calling in just a little while ago, people. Speaking of Santa Claus, somebody who doesn't celebrate Christmas, Ross, your thoughts on the co-main event?
That was one of the most creative segues I think I've ever heard. I will commend you on that. My thoughts on the co-main event are very simple. Kelvin Gastelum is going to walk across the octagon and murder a man. Plain and simple. Mini Kane is here to stay, and he's going to wreak havoc on every 170-pounder in the world. Everyone should look out, because this is the guy who's going to take their lunch money and ruin their days. That's my very simple, easy, quick prediction.
You heard it here. He's the playground bully. He's taking people's lunch money. Kelvin Gastelum. We'll see how he fares on Saturday night on the co-main event. The main event will be a featherweight fight between number 4, Cub Swanson, and number 11, Jeremy Stephens. Cub has just been on an absolute fucking tear. He's won his last 5 fights. He's won 4 of them by finish. It's sort of like a Matt Brown-esque record. He finished George Roop, finished Ross Pearson, finished Charles Oliveira, finished Dennis Seaver, went to a decision with Dustin Poirier, and has just looked unstoppable. Jeremy Stephens, Chael said it very well. He didn't know if Jeremy would be able to take his power at lightweight and move down to featherweight and keep it there. His last 3 fights at lightweight, he lost all of them. The last one to Ramses' boy, Yves Edwards. And since moving down to featherweight at UFC 160, he's beaten all 3 guys he's faced: Estevan Payon, Honey Jason, and Darren Elkins. I don't know. I have Cub all day. I really think Cub will eventually get back to a title shot. I think after Mendez Aldo, really the people who make the most sense at featherweight are Cub, if he beats Jeremy Stephens, and the winner of Penn and Edgar 3. Those seem to make the most sense, because currently your top 5 at featherweight, at least according to the UFC official rankings, after Aldo, you have Mendez at 1, the 2 of them will fight soon, Edgar at 2, who's taking on Penn, Lamas at 3, who recently got a shot and didn't take the title, Cub at 4, and the Korean Zombie at 5, who just isn't fighting often enough. So this is definitely a fight with title implications, and if Cub wins, I think his next fight is either a title fight or a title eliminator fight. I don't think he's very far from the belt at all. Ross?
This is an interesting one, because Cub Swanson has been out for almost a year now. He's had some injuries. He's had some troubles finding an opponent. There's been some conflicts with who's getting title shots. The Anthony Pettis situation, maybe going to 155, Aldo, maybe staying at 145. So all shit's happened, and he's been out for a year. In that year, Jeremy Stephens has dropped to 145 pounds and found new life at this weight class. Jeremy Stephens was on the brink of being cut from the UFC, and bounced back, dropped a weight class, and now contends for the 145-pound title. That's an amazing thing. He has incredible power, very good boxer, very good movement, but mix that in with a solid wrestling game, and he's a guy that's he's a force at 145 pounds. Cub Swanson is quite possibly the best 145er not named Jose Aldo right now in the world, or Chad Mendes for that matter. He's won 5 straight. 4 of those are knockouts. He's just looked phenomenal. But one of the problems that he was posed in his last fight against Dennis Seaver was wrestling. For 2 rounds, Dennis Seaver actually was able to wrestle him. And that's something that I don't put it past Jeremy Stevens to be able to do. That being said, this is a 5-round fight, and Cub Swanson's incredibly dynamic, and I just think that his ability to adjust will be a deciding factor in this fight. I like Jeremy Stevens a lot. I think he is a solid top 10 guy, and he's going to knock out some more names in this weight class, and he's going to put people to sleep. But I think this is more of Cub Swanson's time. I think Swanson will walk away with the victory. I think with a late finish, either a submission or maybe a late TKO. I just think Cub has looked too good lately, too unstoppable, and I think it's number 6 in a row for Cubby.
And our boy Chris Lowe tweets in, the original gangster tweets in, outside of Cub, there is no one else. Bermudez, sure, but he hasn't beaten any top 10s a la Brown. 3 top 10 wins in a row equals TS. I assume he means title shot there with TS. Ramsey's thoughts on the main event?
He actually meant titty sprinkles.
Titty sprinkles. Ramsey's thoughts before we close this bitch out. We're only at 90 minutes. We actually made decent time tonight, gentlemen.
Yeah, this fight's going to be a slobber knocker. It's easy to predict. Obviously, this is a setup for Cub Swanson to just lay poor Jeremy Stevens out. Stevens has a weak chin. I'm sorry, people. It's the truth. He's got power, but with great power comes weak chin, and he's got it. You're going to see it. That's how I feel. In my opinion, this card's over as soon as the Cub Gastelum fight's done, though, and that's why I got nothing else to say. That is the bottom line.
And that's the bottom line. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, follow us at the MMA Podcast. Shout out to Sweet Pappy Jones, who did an amazing job at Press Row at Glory 17. MMA Mental, C. Lowenstein, Yao _ The Truth with the Westland Eagle, AH, Hiro Shinwoo, DJ Jeans, C. Lowenstein, our boy Kevin Black, our boy The Enthusiast, Conley Razor, The Ninja, all you beautiful fucks. Ross, where do we find you on the tweeters?
Look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you want to find the best Jew in the business on Twitter, if you want to find me on the Twitters, it's very simple. You go to your Twitter bar and you forget about me. Instead, you look up the name Chris Weidman UFC, because on July 5th, next Saturday, he's going to do damage to everyone in his path. Lyoto Machida, you're dead.
Hell yeah. Swig a beer? Ramses, where do we find the word on the street? Follow Coach Jamie Huey, people.
Chris Weidman knocked out a 39-year-old man. All of a sudden, he's the second coming of Christ. I'm sorry, people. If you want the real word on the street, follow me on Twitter, The Aunt Show. But better yet, follow me on the PlayStation Network. Get your PS4. Get the new EA UFC game and challenge me. Challenge me online. The X Ramses on
Yo, Ramses,
the PlayStation.
I'm challenging you right now. We'll both stream it in 20 minutes. Me versus you, EA Sports UFC. Do you accept my challenge against you in the octagonal circle?
I gotta eat something, smoke something, drink something. But if you're still around and if you still want to bleed, I'll be more than happy to oblige. That's the bottom line.
Oh, hell yeah, people. As always, it is an honor to bring you the podcast, the 96th podcast. Like I said, we'll be in Vegas next week. I don't know if we'll be doing one, but we will always be around. And I want you all to remember, if you wish upon a star, something who you are. This show's a joke. We'll see you next week, people. I love you. We gone.